Hello once again, and welcome to JCTV Mid-Missouri Art News, supported by many enthusiasts in the state of Missouri and around the country, thanks to our YouTube viewership. Coming to you from the capital city of Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick J., with two special guests today, sculptor Stephen Gorman of Rolla, Missouri, and artist Carol Norton of the Jefferson City, Missouri area. Both great examples of the art world and their respective mediums. Today is January 17th, 2018, with about 12 degrees on the thermometer, and it's great to have you with us today. Well, I now would like to ask you to please join me in greeting and welcoming sculptor Stephen Gorman of Rolla, Missouri on JCTV. Good to see you here on Art News.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Stephen. I know it's a cool drive, I guess, coming up from Rolla today. Yes. Great. Well, Stephen, if I may use your first name, first name Steve or Stephen?
Steve or Stephen.
Great. Please tell us a little bit about you and those highlights of your life that best describe Stephen Gorman, if you would, please.
Well, I was raised in North Kansas City, and my parents were great parents. My dad was a master mechanic, and my mother is a housewife. She did work at Kmart, run the blue light special.
Oh, yes.
Remember those days?
Yes, I remember those days.
And I went to Wynwood Elementary School and Eastgate Junior High, and then I moved to Odessa, and that's where things really started happening.
Oh, really?
I had a fantastic art program, and my parents made sure that I would meet all my teachers, and Tommy Thompson was my junior high teacher, and he really turned me on to art, and then he introduced me to the high school art teacher, and her name's Dorothy Northrop, and I was winning national awards by the time I was 16, 17 years old in New York City. Yep.
My, that's awesome. And your work speaks well of it. We're going to be seeing quite a bit of that work. We have one on the table, which we'll talk about in a few moments. But yes, I can see that the talent that is there. It must have started early. I always claim my start of the art world, writing on the bedroom walls, is 3 or 4 years old, maybe.
Anyway. My mother actually has a drawing that I did that's fully recognizable tractor before I could even speak.
Oh my, that is...
She has that drawing in her possession.
That's interesting. Would you like to see a shout out to anyone at this time?
I would just like to thank my wife for all the hard work she did in preparing for this, and my mother and father, and just everybody that's been a part of my life, helping me to become who I am. You can't do it yourself. You need help along the way.
That inspiration, that help, and when you fall, someone to pick you back up as they pick the clay back up, what have you, or the brush. Well, as you basically share with us when you were first inspired as an artist, was there any specific time, shall we say, that really was more an inspiration? Your first time receiving your first award, maybe?
I think I would have to go back to my family. My grandmother and her grandmother, our entire family's been creative minds.
I see.
And I learned how to draw on an enamel-baked, a white enamel-baked tabletop from the Depression era.
Oh, I see.
And I have fond memories of doing artistic work with my grandmother since as far back as I can remember.
Excellent.
And she was a fantastic artist.
That sounds really warm and.
I didn't have any other direction to go. Basically, I was just born into being artistic.
They just pointed you in the right direction, and here you are today. Fortunate to have you here on Mid-Missouri Art News.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, the folks, the viewers have to view your website. We'll give that information out. But I look at your website, and you have such a vast variety of mediums or subject matter. Surrealism, by Hans
Arp.
Hans Arp. Your contemporary ceramic work, as we're seeing today, Ken Price.
Ken Price, he died a few years ago.
Yes, I can see he's
Fantastic.
definitely an inspiration to you, probably. Ron Nagel. Okay. And Kathy Butterly, I believe it was, yes. So you're in amongst a really recognizable group of people in the sculpture world. Well, your sculpture pieces are described as biomorphic, hybridized. Can you sort of define that term for viewers and myself?
Biomorphic has to do with organic life forms, and hybridization has to do with the combining of life forms. And none of my work is like just literally out there. It's otherworldly in the sense that I've combined things that possibly don't go together or possibly do, but yet it maintains a smooth, free-form direction throughout the work. There's no straight line at all in any of my work, zero.
Exactly. I know meeting you for the first time at the Missouri State Fair, 2017, last summer, and I was so amazed at the form, and not only the form, but the overall feeling you get from some of his pieces. They take me back to the Cherokee background of the family, and some of those pieces look so inspirational that you want to identify with them. Now we have a piece on the table, and this, do you have a name for this piece?
Well, it's actually been named Killer Octopus.
Killer Octopus.
It was named when it was on exhibition in Kansas City at the Sherry Leedy Gallery.
Yes.
And it's quite a piece. It looks to be an octopus, but there's a little something different going on with it.
And you have a technique that is secretive, and family kept secrets. And whatever you're doing it right, because they are not only the octopus coming to life here on the table, for example, but and your other work, as will be shown as we're speaking. Our producer will make sure those get
Thank you.
up and viewed. Well, your favorite mediums, if I may use that term, for example, white earthen ceramics, or airbrushed acrylics, occasionally an added mixed media element. What would you want to describe in those senses?
Well, if you really break it down all the way down to its elements, basically I'm working with water, dust, and binders. It's the essence of everything that we are. You know, we're elements of of dust and dirt. Right. But I make my creations out of the earth, basically, and they are tested by fire.
And so it's basically, we're going back to the element of dirt or earth, dust to dust, ashes to ashes, dirt to sculpture, what have you. So
and yet they're living creatures.
And they're definitely because the basic elements, I guess we should say, are there. If you really stop.
If you really break it down.
Right. Well, your sculpture is defined by many people as they view and interpret them in their own minds. Some of the examples are being shown as you describe your feelings on those interpretations. I have remarks already, people that I've asked of you: stunning, alluring, mysterious, sensuous, with deep meaning. And I'm sure that's what you're after.
All my work starts with a thought, a concept, and nothing I've ever built has, take that back. Most everything starts out as a concept and it turns to a drawing, an elaborate drawing.
Oh, I see.
And that's where my foundation is drawing and the design. I think the piece through, but I leave it open to have a direction to go its own way. I give and it, gives back, and it's a give-take process all the way through. And
So that's the overall thought process, how you bring it together on paper, and still again, it's just like putting on a canvas. You have it in your mind. It's got to come out with the elements, and as you make adjustments, and then hope that it does appeal.
years of mastery too.
Oh yes.
What that's not seen in the work is the thousands of hours of practicing your craft to become the very best you
Yes.
possibly can become.
And it does show in your work.
Thank you.
It's really so impressive. Now, may I share with the viewers, this piece on the table is valued at its...
I would rather not like to talk about the value of the piece,
okay.
but it's valuable.
It's valuable. We have to be very cautious. So I didn't know where to go with that because...
That's fine.
But it is valuable. Well, a favorite piece of mine is the piece entitled Remembrance Embrace.
Mm-hmm.
And on the website again, it describes that, and you might want to share that with our viewers. That piece
kind of a great
is
story
really
behind
touching,
that.
really reaches my heart, and with your story.
One of my
behind
Kansas City collectors, his fiance was diagnosed with cancer, and she was battling cancer, and she went into remission. And he contacted me and asked me to build him a piece to celebrate that her cancer had gone into remission. And he was so taken by the piece that he asked if I could make reproductions of it. So I built it took me 180 hours to build a 5-piece mold.
Oh, I see.
And I cast five copies of it. And then I did them in different requested colorizations to commemorate what loved ones have gone through.
Yes.
So
Well, it's a great
quite a
piece.
piece.
And I invite the viewers to go to Stephen's website and take a look. As we're running close on time, you might go ahead and share with us. Do you have any projects now in process, basically, or at a venue for show and viewing, and where they can actually walk up to a piece and view it?
Well, currently, I'm kind of going back to my roots of watercolor. I started out as a watercolorist, and I was trained as a painter. And in college, they made me decide whether I was going to be a sculptor or painter to get my master's degree. So I chose sculpted paintings. These are like watercolors.
I see.
They're painted three-dimensional watercolors. And but I have a great love of music, all genres, from the early 1900s to present, but basically the area of where 33.5 RPM developed. And I go in and I'm creating a conceptual, multi-sensory work of art, completely different than my ceramic direction. I don't have a studio that has heat or running water now. So I'm reinventing myself. Out of pain and suffering, something great will come out.
Yes.
Art is my life. I am art.
Yes, excellent.
So this is the way I am expressing myself now.
So now you're interested in music. Well, there's...
Music as art. It's art about art.
That it is.
If you will.
Performing the music, spinning of records at the radio station for years, as I've described to you. Well, then, since we're on that topic of music, I have one phrase. Now, I'd like to ask you a question. See if you know where this phrase comes from, because it really describes your work in the overall interpretation. That phrase was ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang.
I'm going to say Fats Domino or Chuck Berry, but I'm not 100%. It would have to be in the 50s.
Yes, it was in the 50s, and it's called The Witch Doctor.
Okay.
And the meaning is that phrase is, I love you. In this case, I love your artwork. So a little bit
Thank
of
you.
music, a
I'm
little
sorry
memory.
I failed.
Oh, that's all right. I thought sure
I'm
you
still learning. I'm still building that collection.
well, I've got that record at home in my own collection. So, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. Okay. Well, before we say goodbye, I'd like to ask you if you'd like to leave your website
Yes.
with our viewers, email address, telephone number, what have you.
StephenLGorman.com, artist@StephenLGorman.com.
Okay.
Should be able to find me if you type my name in.
Yes. And I once again invite everyone to please go to the website. You'll be amazed. You have probably 500 pieces.
Thanks to my wife. She's the CEO of this operation.
Oh,
I'm
thanks
just
to the wife.
I'm the creative department. That's about it.
Oh, super. Well, Mr. Gorman, I want to thank you for being my guest here today on JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News. There's just not enough time to cover all your inspiring work, so I'd like to invite you back at some other time to return and be my guest once again on JCT Spotlight on the Arts, where we'll talk with you for about 30 minutes. Would you?
I'd be delighted.
Okay.
I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you. And Stephen will also be with the Runs Center, Nature Conservation Center, and JCTV Spotlight on the Arts this May and June. Don't forget. Well, thanks once again. After the break, we meet a well-known artist and person many people may be able to identify with from our area. I've traveled to the home for a field taping of an artist who you may well know. She's been in there many years as a school teacher. And from your memories, as you may recall, Miss Carol Norton. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie to matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There's something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me.
Please join me in welcoming Miss Carol Norton to JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News. Thanks for being with us. We are conducting this interview at the home of Carol and Bill Norton, not far from where the confluence of the Osage River and the Missouri River takes place. A beautiful sight from the home and a great setting for any artist who is looking for the surroundings and brings a peaceful atmosphere of back to nature for any artist. Thanks so much, Carol, for inviting me to your home and studio that we're taking
Well, welcome.
shoot in.
Welcome to our home.
Thank you. Well, Miss Norton, please tell us a little bit about you and those highlights of your life that really describe Carol Norton.
I was born close to the Missouri River in a farm community in a little town named Norton, Missouri.
Norton, I see.
By Carrollton and etc., those small towns around there. So I was in a country life all my life. My father was a farmer. My stepdad is a farmer. My mother, bless her dear heart, died 2 months ago. She would have been 100 years old in November.
Wow.
This past November. Wonderful homemakers, farmers, down-to-earth nature, natural people. And I got a love of the river and a love of nature there. learn to respect it.
I see. That sounds great. So you was inspired early. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now you have two beautiful children. You might want to say hi to them.
Thank you. My children, Christopher Allen and Catherine Amanda, they are my twins, and Elizabeth is my older daughter. She's in Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison,
Yes.
Wisconsin. So a greeting to all three of those.
Thank you.
I've been able to visit with Carol in past and Belle, and I meet the children, the twins. So it's really a warm family and a warm setting. So I'm so happy to be here today and be invited back and have Carol be a part of the Mid-Missouri Art News. Well, Carol, can you shout or share with us when or how you were first inspired to become an artist?
And art was not involved in the country life where I was. The town I was born in never reached 1,000 people.
I see.
I did not have an art teacher, and there wasn't any around. Basically, the classroom teachers did things that were fun to do with some materials. When I was a senior in high school, there was a gentleman who came around that wanted to teach art, so I was able to take a semester of art then, and that got me interested. But other than that, I had no art, and I went to college and got involved with it there.
Yes, that's what my next question was. Probably in high school, then in college. Now, you've got quite a background in education,
Yes.
and you might share a tidbit of that with us.
Yes, I've always had a passion about education, and I wanted to be an elementary teacher. And the doctor in my hometown wanted me to follow him into the medical
Oh, I see.
situation. And I said, no, I'm supposed to be a teacher. So I went in that direction and went to the University of Missouri at Columbia, got there, and my third semester, I was turning sophomore then, I was with my advisor, and he said, you have an elective that you need to do something with. And I said, what's an elective? Because I hadn't thought about things that way.
Yes.
I was busy learning. And he said, well, we have this art class that's right here, and it's right in this open area between the things that you signed up for. So what do you think about taking an art class? And I said, sounds great to me. So I took the art class. It went very, very well. I got an A in it. It didn't have a final. I enjoyed it so much. It was great. So I went back the next semester to get signed up for the next semester's work. He said, you still have electives? And I said, okay. He said, how about art again? And I said, fine. So I took another class in oil painting. The first one was oils. The second one was oils. I got an A. There was no finals. This is wonderful.
Yes.
I went back the third time, same thing. I signed up for oils again. Went into my class, and it was a different instructor, and we had a model, and he said, well, the arm is more kind of like this. Didn't you learn that in your drawing class? And I said, I haven't had drawing class.
Oh, my.
He said, you haven't had drawing? I said, no. He said, do you know that there are prerequisites for this class? And I said, no. He said, you go back and you take all the prerequisites for this art class. You major in art. You can do whatever else you want, but you'll major in art too.
Right.
And so I did, and that's how I got into it.
And it speaks well of Carol's background. I can see from the foundation. We will be viewing some of her paintings and artwork. So stay with us. Now, you did teach for a number of years.
I have a degree in elementary ed, K through 8. I have a degree in fine arts, and I have a degree in art education. And I have a master's in art education.
Right.
So that's where it got me.
I see. It's very interesting. Well, Carol, can you then share with us your compassion through art and the children you taught? What did that mean really to you? Share some of that background with us.
And I've always had a passion for education, and so I had to continue that as well as the art. And then the art came along and attached to me, but I've always had the passion for education. And I wanted to teach elementary art. When I came to the Jefferson City Public Schools, they had a vertical staffing. That means it was just like high school. There were music teachers and language arts teachers and social studies teachers, and the kids moved from room to room just like high school.
Ah.
So I had Nichols, Mr. Nichols, as a superintendent then, and he was very concerned that all of his people be certified in what they were teaching and well qualified. He, the year that I was free and graduated, needed a swing teacher. He needed somebody to teach elementary ed, and he needed an art teacher.
I see.
So the art got me a job initially and started my whole career in education. I taught art with the Jefferson City Public Schools and other things. I taught both of them. I started with 4 hours of math a day and 2 hours of art. Wonderful combination.
Yes, and you identified with the children, and they
I did.
identified with you. And I understand there's a young lady that comes to see you to take care of your medical condition.
Yes, yes, yes. I taught, just a second, I taught in the Jefferson City Public Schools for 13 years. I taught all ages, kindergarten through 8th grade. I worked for them with parents as teachers, so I worked with the younger children, and I have a degree in early childhood. And I also taught college level courses that I designed for business management people in art. I have not taught 9, 10, and 11th grade, 12th, 9, 10, 11, 12th grade. So I've had experience in all those ages, and the art brings it all together. It goes back and forth. Art was always used in different ways.
That was the glue.
Yes, and it was communicative in my math classes and reading classes and other classes to help with all the other subjects.
I see, very good.
So art is an integral part of everything, and it can be used in teaching dramatically.
I can imagine.
Yes.
It's like cue cards and all types of art now is still used with
yes.
Now there's the children, the compassion for the children, and what you receive from them, and even the young lady that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Tell us a little bit about your nurse.
Yes, I have a chronic illness, and I am on some experimental medications that need to be monitored by the medical company. And I need a nurse that will come to my home and take blood and urine samples and send it back to them and to my doctor and to my neurologist and other people. And it happened to be a young woman that I taught in grade school.
And we have a picture that you painted of her.
I
that
drew a
we'll
picture
be
of her
sharing.
way back when she was in the 3rd grade. And I gave it to her father when she came to be my nurse. And we all got tears in our eyes.
I can imagine.
Yes, and she gets to be with me for 4.5 years.
Oh, that's super. That's quite a story. Well, you once shared with me that you were inspired by Miss Ruth Hogan, a lady who brought art to the classrooms of Jefferson City, Missouri, many years ago. Miss Hogan is remembered annually by the Jefferson City Art Club, which hosts a children's art exhibit in her name annually. Yes. Can you share with our viewers a little bit about the true character of Ruth Hogan? You knew her as a friend, as a mentor, etc.
Ruth Hogan was a very, very, very special woman. She was a dynamic and an intelligent woman. She had a bachelor's in art and she had a master's in art. She was a passionate woman about her work and about art. She came to the Jefferson City Public Schools, so they hired her. She eventually became the coordinator for the elementary art teachers.
I see.
And very, very thoroughly involved in writing the curriculum for the elementary art division of the Jefferson City Public Schools. Yes, she was involved in that whole development, and she worked with the high school director, and they created the curriculum. She was very, very close and loving and kind and teaching with her teachers, and we were her teachers. We were all a family, and we all shared information and got together and shared what to do with this, what to do with that, what medium to do, how to do this, how to try that, how to communicate with the kids about this, how to put this in a different direction and share it with other groups in the schools. She was passionate about sharing the art that the children created with the public and letting them know what they did and how valuable it was. It's not just a piece of pretty things that somebody collects and made. These children, this was their time of the day to be totally themselves and creative.
Therefore, she comes up with the idea of an elementary art show in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Yes.
And that's how the Ruth Hogan basically began and carried through all these years with the Jefferson City Art Club, which you may view in Jefferson City annually. Look for that if you can. And so yes, that's basically the story and the origination of Ruth Hogan, and not only her compassion to the children, but also her fellow teachers, who I understand you all looked to her and called her mom.
Yes, and she was. She took care of us, and if there was any need that we had, she found a way to help us get there.
Right.
And she was so good at teaching, she taught us to teach art.
Right.
And how to do that initially, and she did that with us, is that she accepted what we did.
Excellent.
We tried. You said, well, I'd like to experiment with this. Okay, I'll see that you get this and this and this, and I'll give you some information about how that can be accomplished using that material. And this is what we did. It transferred to the children.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let's move on now to some technical questions, should we call them, because everyone that watches the program, if they're even not an artist, they still like to hear about what really makes up Carol Norton's art. And so my next question would be, what's your favorite mediums and subject matter, basically, when you pick up the brush here at home in your studio?
It was the children that I taught to begin with, and I did some portraits of them. This sounds funny, but I had other teachers that needed to keep the kids in from recess for 15 minutes, and I said, well, I have some room, my spare time at that time of the day, so I'll do my things that I needed to in the room, and you can send them in. So I drew them as they were staying in.
I see. Well, now in your studio, do you use oils or acrylics? And I know you have some pieces of artwork that's shown over the years that have received great recognition, and people still talk about them these days.
Thank you.
And so your medium would be your favorite medium.
My favorite medium, I started off in oils, obviously, when I told you about the class I was in. In oils and in sculpture.
Oh, my.
And then I stretched to watercolors. I love it. And then I use different tools and medium in drawing. And I'm in pastels right now.
Pastels.
I've touched in acrylics. That wasn't where I settled. But I'm in pastels right now. With the chronic illness that I have, I'm able to not expend so much energy with pastels as I would oil painting and other painting. I have a tendency to be up and active when I paint with oils and watercolor. So I can use pastels. I can get dynamic color and vibrancy and movement, and not move so much energy from my body. So I do a lot with pastels now. And I can use my drawing skills in pastels a lot.
I understand. Now, we've had two gentlemen on the program, Mid-Missouri Art News, and also Spotlight on the Arts, that are handicapped. One has seizures, and he never knows when the seizures are going to come on. But when he comes out of a seizure, he uses art as a therapy. He said that's the most therapy-wise, it clears his mind and gives him inspiration again. So I can imagine that at some point you'd like to get those pastels out and kind of round out your day with a little creativeness and take your mind off of the illness.
The art is used as therapy many, many times in many, many places. And what it does is to assist in your using another side of the brain. And this is one of the things that has come into light in the last decade or so, is that there the two hemispheres are being used, both the left and the right side, and the right side is dominated by things like art and the abstractions into which our brain goes at those times. And it takes you to this wonderful la-la land. You have no time, you have no pressures, and that's part of art. The combination goes back and forth. You use both sides all the time. If it's called dominant, that means it spends a little more time over there than it does the other.
Right.
But you booze both sides at the same time.
Yes, I
So
understand.
therapy is the use of manipulating a little more to the right side than the left, because the left is not as functional. That's what the therapies are all about.
I see, awesome. Well, do you have any favorite pieces that you've completed that you could share with the viewers that really lean towards your art a little heavier than others?
Yes, I do. I have some portraitures that I have done. I did one of my husband and my sister-in-law, an oil portrait, and gave it to my mother-in-law. I have this neat landscape that I did that was a combination of drawing and intricate drawing and a big cloud and all the light that comes in from that at twilight. Another one that I did, and I'm really involved with it, are pokeberries.
Yes.
And the designs that you can do with it, the colors involved with it. I love the colors and the movement of the plant. They are not a popular plant. In fact, if you try to ingest them at the wrong time of their growth, you will get very sick.
Yes.
Very. So don't eat them. But they're beautiful.
Yes, and we will be showing that as part of the
Yes.
presentation. Well, Carol,
Plus many
how
others.
long-
I like all kinds of subjects and all kinds of materials.
how long have you been a member of the Jeff City Art Club? It's been many years.
Yes, it has. I have stopped and had twins in there in the middle of teaching at Jeff City. And so stayed out for a little while. Ruth Hogan was with me still, even though I wasn't with the schools. And she strongly urged me to go with her to the art club meetings. And she introduced me to the people there. I became a member in '85 and the president of the club in '86.
I see. So that's been a number of years.
Oh yes, and it's wonderful support and the communication about art and in art with each other, and the supporting of art in different venues in the city and community and with the teachers. It's a very good
I see.
organization.
Well, Miss Norton, I want to thank you for inviting us to your home and studio. And thanks so much for sharing so much with us here on Mid-Missouri Art News on JCTV. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. I've enjoyed having you with me.
Me too.